Hello and welcome to today's Excel tip. I'm Elizabeth Dodge with Stock and Option Solutions. I should say Stock Plan Excel tip. And here is a smarter way, a way to make your Vlookup or your index match do more. So the first problem I was trying to solve, I was doing non-employee accounting in a spreadsheet, a non-qual here and an RSU here. And the spreadsheets I'd seen before sort of found the volatility that they wanted and then did some gyrations, and there were different spreadsheets for different, and I really want all my formulas to be exactly the same in all my columns where possible. So I Googled a way to get my Vlookup or my index match to be a little bit smarter, and instead of just looking at volatility for a certain date, because with non-employee accounting I have to do the fair value as of the vest date, and that changes, that also I wanted to be able to say, okay, based on the remaining term, which is going to change, the time to expiration from quarter to quarter, I want my lookup to be smart enough to say, okay, for 9 years or 10 years or 8 years or 7 years, I want you to find not only a match to the remaining term, but also a match to this date, because obviously the fair value, the volatility is going to change from date to date. So if I look at it going 9 years back from 7/31, I get a different answer than if I look at it 9 years back from 12/31, etc. So the Vlookup, and this is not a formula that I know well enough to be able to just show you and type it in. So it's a formula that I copied from the internet, and I'm going to show you the components, and then I'll give you the formula that you can, I'll give you a link to the formula on the web page so that you can pull the formula down. But so this formula, I looked it up on the internet, it does a Vlookup first. It does a Vlookup for the date. So you can see it's pointing Vlookup S9, and then it points toward the volatility spreadsheet or the volatility tab where I've got the volatility data all laid out in a grid. Then it brings in a match, much like the index match that we use, because now it wants where it found where the row that it wanted or the column that it wanted using the Vlookup. Now it wants to use a match to pull that in. And my match, because I take the remaining term and I round that to the nearest 1 year, I've embedded a round in here as well, which you wouldn't necessarily need for a lot of the things you're doing. But for me, this is the smarter way to do it. Okay, so I rounded my expected term, and I'm trying to find a match for a 9-year or a 7-year or a 6-year, not 9.25 or 9.75, etc. And then I pointed also towards the volatility, the first row in the volatility, 1 pound 1. So that's the first row in the volatility. And then I tell it that if it can't find a match, I need an exact match return. So again, I'm not an expert at this formula, but I have made it work for this, and it is a little bit smarter Vlookup. So now what we do is let's go over to our volatility worksheet, and we can see these are my different, and they're not all populated because I don't need them all. But this is sort of a grid that it says on 6/30 for this company, and this particular company was peer company volatility, which can be a bit of a bear to calculate as well. But I've populated my grid, and now so as of 6/30, if I had a 6-year expected term, it would go get me this number. If I had a 7-year expected term, it would go get me a slightly different number, etc. You can see they're just slightly different. But that's what this formula is doing. It's first, here it is, it's first looking up that date, and it's looking S9 up, right there, the fair value month that I'm using, because I only do one fair value per month, which thus far has been okay with all the auditors. And it's looking up the whole volatility. I'm looking up from from A all the way through K, all the formulas. And then I do a match based on my remaining term, and then I point at my volatility, my first column there, my number 1. So this is where I'm matching. I'm matching here. Find me which column this data is in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then also find me a match based on my date, and that's what it does. It returns that volatility. And so that, we'll put a link to this formula on the web page that you found this demo on. And that is a smarter way, or a little more complicated, a little fancier way to use Vlookup with a combination of match to make your lookup do more with less work. Thank you very much.